So, business email compromise ends up crushing your business. So, when I was asked to do this, I did what all good Checkpoint employees do on a regular basis. I downloaded the Checkpoint CyberSecurity report. Now, for those of you that don't do this often, I suggest you do. Whether you use our product or not doesn't really worry me, to be honest. One of the things about Checkpoint is we have a hell of a legacy within the industry, right? So we started it way back with Firewall 1, all those years ago in the early 90s. And being the company we are and the type of people that we recruit, because obviously we're an Israeli company, we're right outside the Mossad, so you can imagine where we recruit some of the better of the cyber warriors. And we have these incredibly great research teams that number literally, I think there's 400 people in the primary research team, and they spend their days finding out what's going on in the world of cybersecurity, okay? And they're looking at things, they're looking at trends, they pick up loads of stuff. So that was the first thing I did, okay? I downloaded that. By the way, if you really fancy it, that 2023 report has got a really great section. I do a talk, and I'm doing it today, on the impact of the Russia-Ukrainian war, with the fact that the Russians have given the hackers all their proper nation-state tools. We've pretty much done the same damn thing to the Ukrainian hackers, which is fine at the moment, because they're aiming at each other. When that war finishes, which hopefully is damn soon, expect some fun and games, people, because the level is just about to go through the roof of the quality of the tools that has got into the hands of the more criminal-based hackers. So it's a really good report. But the thing that caught my eye on this one was basically about email, right? Now, email is something we've all had since God knows when. It was when 94 was the first time I proper came into business-style email. It was horrendous. So we've all had it, and we've all become comfortable with it, right? And there are certain things that go on with it. When I started looking at that report and going through with the email and realizing just how comfortable we all are on a daily basis with email, it's kind of like one of the primary routes that we get information, certainly important information, although my son, and I'm sure a lot of you as well, WhatsApp and those sort of things are starting to take over a little bit, but it's still there. It came up with the phishing statistics, and this is what hit me. 15 billion spam emails make their way across the internet every single day. That is a huge amount of general rubbish that's flowing across the internet. But why? Why is it so important? Why are they putting so much power and so much money into that? But 83% of organizations have reported a phishing attack. And to be frank, I think the remaining lot out of that are just lying, because I don't know a single organization that hasn't had some form of phishing attack fired at them, okay? But certainly 83% of them are arguing. And last year, roughly 214,000 phishing websites, unique phishing websites, were identified, which is an absolutely huge amount of websites that are there to try and garner and harvest that information that they nick. And this was the shocker. 30% of phishing emails are actually opened that come into a business, right? Now, I can forgive me mum. She's the best part of 84, and I get phone calls literally on a daily basis because she's either won the lottery in Nigeria or her Microsoft account's has been cancelled, when I keep pointing out she doesn't have a Microsoft account, so it's probably not a good point of doing it. And actually, my mother-in-law the other night turned around at my house at 11 o'clock at night because she had a slightly suspicious email come forward, which was lovely. I can forgive them, okay? A, it's me mum, I have to forgive her. And two, they're just normal people. But this is business. People in businesses opening them up, which I don't know about the organizations you work for, but I have huge amounts of mandatory don't open the damn email training. I think largely so they can fire me if I am stupid enough to open one. So an awful lot of these emails are opening. That kind of means that they're probably quite good, because we've all had the training, right? We all work in this industry, we kind of know what's going on, so do the people that are with us, and it is largely a fireable offense. Certainly in most companies, if you introduce malware into your organization, you're probably not going to have a job at the end of the day, okay? And God forsake you do it at Checkpoint, you'll literally be lynched. They'll get very, very cross. Another important statistic was that 1 in 99 emails is a phishing attack. And when you consider the amount of emails that flow across the internet on a daily basis, that's actually quite intense. This is a bulk thing that they're doing, okay? There was a great IBM cost of data breach report, and it found that phishing to be the most, and business email compromise, or BEC, the second most expensive vector, costing organizations $4.89 million and $4.91 million respectively. So the question is, can you deal with that? Okay? Can you take a hit that big just because some muppet, to be brutally honest with you, has clicked that link because he thinks he's won the lottery somewhere? Probably not. But it kind of gets a little bit worse than that, because a lot of people sit there and they think, hey, I've got cyber insurance, haha. Has anyone ever tried to claim on cyber insurance? It's not a pleasant experience. I think they only pay out on 20% of claims. And we did, I mentioned this when I was speaking in London as well. We started tracking that the insurance companies themselves are now starting to refuse cyber insurance unless you are properly kitted out, okay? And they're actually talking vendors. There's a vendor they don't like, someone that they think isn't, maybe not as high for an organization as you, and using that vendor, they're saying, nope, we're not paying for it because we're not paying another 5 million quid per attack because that's been allowed through. So it's costing a hell of a lot of money. It's losing huge amounts of data, and it's generally not particularly nice, okay? So 90% of cyber attacks start with an email. You actually do an awful lot of research into hacking and the way they do things, especially if they're doing it to deliberately get into a company or an organization, they start with an email because it's the simplest and easiest place to start. You don't need to go skulking around, rummaging in bins. You don't need to be poking at firewalls to see if you can get through it and making your name that way. Email's brilliant. They can pretty much be anonymous. And depending on the ones that you send through, fine, right? I mean, it's a classic one here, right? Malware, a job application to HR. Malware contained right within Annie's resume in there. Somebody clicks on that, it downloads, and it starts to infect the entire network that's underneath it and starts to harvest those credentials. If you're wondering why they're doing this, by the way, it's because there's actually a hell of a lot of money in it. It's phenomenal, the amount of money. We were tracking a Russian gang. There's only 4 of them in the gang, and in the year that they were operating before they got, before they were stopped, they were Russian, so they didn't actually get stopped per se, or certainly didn't get arrested. They took $1 billion. $1 billion. It's an awful lot of money. I kind of think I might be in the wrong industry, and maybe I should swap across to the dark side to kind of get that sort of money. So malware, this is usually how it starts, or phishing, okay? An urgent request. How many of us have had that great little thing about a deactivation notice? That's the classic, right? We're about to deactivate your account. Oh my God, I must click on the link and find out about it. Now, within most organizations, us as security professionals, usually we're kind of like, yeah, that's stupid. Who the hell would click on that? But what you're forgetting is the other departments as well. People like in accounts, people maybe in logistics, people that are doing in order management, that sort of thing. They're not quite as turned on as we are. And often they'll sit there and freak out and click the button, okay? As my mother does on a very regular basis. There is also starting to be an increase in the proportion of malicious files sent directly by email, okay? As we've seen that over the years, it used to only be, 67% of them, and they would try and get you with a dodgy website, something you probably shouldn't be looking at, but you are, and all of a sudden the information comes down. That doesn't work anymore. Most people now realize that websites are dangerous, and people like Google, Microsoft, and all the other browser providers actually make their browsers quite secure. So it's getting harder and harder to do, because the email's quite easy. Just start bulk emailing out and wait till you can find the idiot, right, who clicks the button. So we're seeing a huge amount of malware phishing that's coming out. 51% of email contains the phishing, okay, the phishing malware, but the important one is the credential harvesting. So what a lot of the hackers are after, what they really want, is to take over an account, right? And if they're taking over an account, they can pretty much screw your business. I'll wait a little bit till we go on to that to show you just how dangerous that can be, because I was involved in one of those a couple of years ago. 41% are trying to get credentials. Because when you think about it, your credentials in this modern age, that's kind of your life. I flew across here this morning on Ryanair. It's all on my phone. If somebody attacks me Ryanair password, I could be in a lot of trouble and maybe taking a hotel in it in Dublin tonight. Okay? It's really important, and they can do huge amounts of work with it. Once they've got your credentials, or the credentials of someone inside your organization, effectively they have the keys to the kingdom. They can do anything they want once they get through with that, and that largely is what they're after. We see a lot of extortion emails. About 8% are extortion emails. These tend not to work with people like us because they're asking for money. And I know what it's like for you guys, but when I try and get money out of my company, it's usually quite a hassle. And so simply bunging 900 quid to somebody is fairly rough. But business email compromised attacks, only 0.4% of phishing attacks are business email compromise, which at first may seem kind of wrong, right? If there's all this huge bulk of stuff, why is there so few business email compromise? That's largely because they are incredibly highly targeted because they give the best returns, okay? If you can take over somebody's email account, you literally do have the keys to the kingdom. I was involved in a company a couple of years ago, and I wasn't actually, I was pre-sales, so I wasn't actually selling, but a business email compromise attack went on. They did their work, and they nicked 4 million quid in the space of about 10 minutes, okay? It was incredibly good, all because they managed to get the email account of the CFO. So all the CFO had to do, all they had to do was go, oh my God, XYZ in accounts, we need to pay this bill or we're going to go bust tomorrow. This is absolutely terrible. So the accounts person dutifully paid the bill because the boss told her to pay the bill, and the next thing we know, it's flown off the coast of God knows where. And that was the last anyone ever saw the money. That's how easy it is. That's why they like it. It's relatively safe. You're not annoying people with all these hundreds and hundreds of emails going out, which might alert the security services or people that generally monitor the internet. So it's nice and low key, but highly targeted, really, really profitable. Okay, which is why they do it. We see a lot of brand impersonation as well. This is another corker, right, with the likes of Amazon. You know, look at this wonderful deal that we've got. And again, people are clicking on it because they don't think. These people use every trick in the book to get somebody to click on a link, to download an app, to download a bit of malware, and to do whatever they need to do. Anything. That's one I quite like about fake QuickBook accounts, okay? Impersonating legitimate organizations. So you send a fake invoice into somebody, they think, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Brilliant, we'll pay it. And boom, right, where's all that money gone? At the end of the year when the accounts are audited, we're suddenly missing X amount of money. Well, we paid this invoice. Well, what invoice? That's just a fake account. So they're actually getting into places like QuickBooks. They can nick a QuickBooks account, they can start sending out invoices to people. So they're pretty good at what they do. So what is a business email compromise? So we pretty much all know this here, but I will quickly run through it. A hacker, although I don't like using hacker anymore because I haven't had eyes on a single hacker for a while. They all tend to be gangs. They are way more organized than you think they are. I mean, we've all seen the things of some of the Indian scam that look like call centers. Yeah, we've all seen those. That's actually pretty professional. It's not a bunch of kids with hoodies in a hotel room, in the room anymore, breaking stuff. These are highly, highly targeted gangs. They know what they're doing. They're very, very professional. But anyway, you get the hacker or the hackers. They will either compromise the partner or they will impersonate a partner. That will allow them to target a user. And from that point, they will start doing stuff against them. I, at the moment, am subject to a spear phishing campaign. It's quite amusing to watch. And it's a little bit like one of those things where I kind of feel sorry for the hackers because behind me is Checkpoint, who are known for destroying hackers when they try it on. We did a great one with somebody sent the head of our cybersecurity research division, our cyber research division. They sent her a Nigerian prince email. So for a laugh, in the next 30 minutes, she hacked his laptop, turned his camera on, recorded him, and then nicked his money, which was absolutely hysterical. But I'm one of these, I get them all the time at the moment. I just report them on the system, right? I've had another one, and they keep an eye on me. But from that point, that's where they're trying. What do? Do I try and put some ransomware on here? Do I try and get further into the network? Do I simply take on an account, nick some money, right? That's the point at which they do it, once they've compromised the account. But just remember, this is professional stuff. You are going up against people who are, I'll be honest, they're brighter than I am. They're certainly more driven than I am to do this particular stuff. I'm not really a criminal by nature, I'll be brutally honest with you. And they know what they're doing. They've done this loads and loads and loads and loads of times before. It's almost like a factory when you see them working to nick this amount of money. So as soon as they've got their way in and they've compromised their accounts, this is when they can leverage pretty much everything, right? They can manipulate the links, they can do clone phishing, spoofing, they can attack non-educated users, human errors, text in pictures, they can do covert redirects, social engineering, whaling, you name it, they can do it as soon as they possibly can. But why email compromise? Why bother doing it? Because it's damn easy. And the chances of getting caught are pretty low, right? If you want to go walking into the center of Dublin and try and rob a load of diamonds from a diamond store, you're probably not going to last particularly long. It's a high-risk strategy for getting some money, right? With this, you can be absolutely anywhere in the world. You can be doing it on an industrial scale, yeah? And you basically, this is in the clues in the word, right? You fish. You just cast your net, see who responds. There are going to be people out there that are not going to fall for it, but when you find someone that starts falling for it, now you know, start aiming, start looking at that company, let's see what's going on. It's easy. The other thing to remember is your data center, if you're a good security engineer, is secure. You've probably got gateways from a number of vendors. You've got all sorts of systems and that sort of thing. But your data estate isn't. The reason I say that is that we're all moving stuff, aren't we? We're moving stuff to cloud, Office 365. We're moving things like Salesforce. Everything's online. Our actual data centers at the moment have pretty much ended up being things that guard our databases because we don't quite trust AWS or Azure. I certainly don't. But the problem is, in the old days, everything that went around your data center and support and protected that data center, well, everything was in it. Your email was in it, all your CRM system was probably on site, so you knew what was going on. You could control what came in and came out. Then what we've done is we've taken that and we started pushing up to the likes of Microsoft, to Salesforce, and to everybody else that offers us a service. And at this point, we have to trust them. We have to trust that they're looking after our data. And to be brutally honest with you, they're pretty good at what they do, but they're not infallible, especially in the case of business email compromise with the likes of Office, with the likes of Microsoft. It's a great way of getting in, right? Microsoft are vast. They can't be looking in depth at absolutely everything that they're doing. They're offering you a service. You're taking what was in your data center, part of the stuff you're getting in your data center, you're popping it up into them, and you're hoping like hell that they're going to protect it well enough. And they're probably not, okay? So default security, just using the simple email stuff that Microsoft and Google provide, really doesn't work that well. That's not their wheelhouse. Microsoft is concerned with the functionality of Office 365. It is not primarily concerned with the security of it. So you're getting good security, but it's not really 100% brilliant. And as shown there, Microsoft Defender misses almost 19% of phishing emails that come through. And it only takes one phishing email, right? That's the great thing about if you're a phisher, and that's the way you're going to do your hack. It only takes one person. It's like that chink in the armor. It's not quite there. You're kind of sorted with it. So how do we stop these attacks? To quote Tony Blair, education, education, education. The primary way of stopping business email attacks and business email compromise is to make sure the users that you have know not to do it. This is difficult, and it will never work in its entirety, because you'll always get that one person who's just generally thick and probably shouldn't be working for the company, right? But you have to educate your partners, and not one of these little 10-minute, watch this once a year and tell me everything's cool. Properly educate them on what they can expect and the level of it. A lot of people these days, when you say business email attack, they keep coming back to the Nigerian print scams. That's what they think an email attack looks like, or a lottery scam, right? They're kind of wise to it. What they're not wise to is the very, very, very high level that the phishers actually do, right? Like I've seen phishers that have come through via the company information systems, and I couldn't bloody tell, right? I genuinely couldn't have tell. I'd sit there going, this is a masterpiece. Whoever's done this, they've hidden all the links. It's only actually if you rip the email open, you can find out all the bad stuff that's in it, which most of us are busy. We haven't got time for that. The other thing you do need to do is you do need a digital doorman, okay? You need a system that's going to check all this stuff out. The sheer volume of the attacks coming through means that just by pure damn luck at some point, no matter what the education you put in, something is going to get through and somebody's going to click on something and all hell breaks loose after that point. So you actually need something that's going to strip out the majority of it, strip out the majority of that rubbish, that noise, so that if something does come to the user, it doesn't come in that often, okay? And they can sit there and go, that's weird. Maybe I won't click and open that link. Secondly, you need very, very, very good security tools. So you not only have to be able to spot things like business email compromise, spot malware coming in, spot all the usual bad stuff, you also need to work out what's going on with everything else. So everyone across the world using whatever product you're using, it should all be communicating. The trick is that I send you a bad email over there, okay? And by the time that email arrives to that gentleman over there, all the systems have gone, that's bad, just block it, kill it, right? Because we know it's a known bad. And prevention is the key. As I said before, 30% of people are opening emails, which is absolutely terrifying. So you need to prevent people seeing those emails in the first place. To them, they should sit there and say, and I love this when you go into an organization, say, we don't have a problem with phishing. And you see the security team, and you can see the huge amount of stuff that's coming through, but the systems themselves are actually stripping it all away and all out. So you need a digital doorman. You need a company that's going to basically sit there and say, right, we've got you covered, right? Here we go. Now, another important thing to remember is don't just go for the email. You do need to do all the collaboration tools. Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Salesforce, anything that you're using, any systems that you're using are potential ways that they can get in. They're quite bright, they're quite wise. They might send you an email saying, pop over to Salesforce and do X, Y, Z, and get in through that particular vector, okay? They don't need to get in through the email if they don't need to. So all those collaboration tools, you need to be absolutely on point for. So I work for Checkpoint, so I'm going to tell you about our solution because it's great and I like it. We have an email solution. We bought Avanan a couple of years ago. We did some amazing work with it. We layered on our threat prevention, and we came up with a great system, okay? Patented architecture. I'm not going to talk too much about it. And extremely good results because we've connected it into all our internal company systems. Now, the lads are upstairs, which is, so come and see us, okay? If you haven't seen us already, come and see us and we can talk to you about it, see if you like it. We do give superior phishing protection. I say this because I do an awful lot of POVs on this stuff, and to be brutally honest with you, it does quite frighten me how it works. So it's damn good at what it does, okay? So in summary, because I've only got a couple of minutes left, and time is a factor today because I think the bar opens at a certain time, so we are kind of focused on the bar opening. Email is now a primary vector of attacks. It's the first one they start with. It's easy, it's good, and it's safe, okay? The users themselves are the last line of defense. The systems that I sell, they're not going to stop 100% of it, okay? There's going to be one email that's crafted that is absolute work of genius that all the algorithms in the world and the AI in the world just will not pick up, okay? So the users have to understand what's going on. But you do need very, very good security for your email and your collaboration tools because those are now becoming the primary vectors. If you're a criminal, this is where you're going to make your money, and you're going to make it easy, and you're going to make it safely. It must be automated, okay? The sheer bulk of stuff that comes through means if you've got somebody sitting there going, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay, that's fine, no, I don't like that, it's not going to work. It's just going to pile up. It needs to be fully automated, and it needs to be extremely good, okay? There we go. So thank you. Hope you learned something. It's been lovely to be here. If you want to speak to me, I will be upstairs with the team. We are having a draw. We have a VR headset. If you want to speak to me, I'll tell you a very interesting story about a VR headset. Nothing to do with cybersecurity, just funny. And come and speak to us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
guys.
We've got a minute for questions.
Okay.
So we have a couple of minutes for questions. Anyone got a question for Matt? Scanning the room, which usually means you've done such a good job of answering the questions. One of the things that I actually just wanted to ask you, obviously with business, with email being such a risk vector, it's what we originally started talking about when it came to cybersecurity, like on a personal level. We are still in a situation where it's the major vulnerability. Do you ever see a time when we can reach, a plateau where there is something in place to protect the everyday worker from having to make that choice about the email? No.
To be honest, it's an arms war, right? And one of the reasons, one of the big things about email, and the reason that it's quite a hot topic at the moment, we've actually forgotten about it over the last few years. We've been so worried about the really fancy stuff and the funky stuff, and some muppet will talk about AI because why the hell not? And we've kind of forgotten about it. But the point is, it is an arms race. They are getting better and better and better. I mean, when you look at when they started out with the good old-fashioned Nigerian prints, bad English, all over the place, terrible font, it kind of stuck out. Now some of the stuff that we're actually seeing with the research is so good, so well crafted. They're talking about things that happen in your life. So obviously they've broken in at other places, so they're actually probably broken into your personal email, and they now know that your wife's in hospital, kids at school, buying a new car, and you sit there and you think, oh my God, the only way we're going to see this is if we rip it all apart. So we're always going to need tools, but they are always going to get better. They make enough money out of this, right? They're going to make an absolute ton of cash. So as soon as we close one door, they just work out another way of doing it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that sobering thought. Okay, well, Matt will be here later on for the drinks. So, there's a gentleman's got a question. Do we have a microphone? Mic runners anywhere?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. So my question is regarding, creating the business email. So do we have any policy on that? Because nowadays I see business emails are created based on your first name's initial and last name. So it becomes easier for the attackers to guess the business email, you know, with the domain that you work for. So do we have any such policy, you know, where we can, you know, make a unique business email IDs as per the organizations?
Yeah, I suppose you could do, but the point is, one of the problems with email is, like with me, my email address is matthewg@checkpoint.com. Don't muck about with it. I will get cross. And actually, when people want to reach out to me, that's good, right? If I just had like a random selection of figures or numbers in there, which I have seen used, a lot of the hackers on the darknet will just use random stuff, right? So that you can't really work out who they are. And actually, if you get a dodgy email and kind of look at who actually sent it, it will usually just be a random sort of thing. But people actually, and you raise a good point, because people will sit there and say, oh, that's from Auntie Jean, right? Because it's auntieg@gmail.com. I will answer it, I will look into it. I think we still have to have that kind of humanization, just as human beings. We don't work well with numbers and random things. We just need to make sure the systems that are underneath it are sitting there going, hang on a second, don't like that. That's plainly you're masking that, right? The actual email user is .4/ampersand, God knows what, .com at, you know, roost.net. And instantly it should be right. No, that's a bad thing. But I don't think you can't change it, because when I send you an email, I've probably spoken to you, right? And then I go, oh, I must X, Y, Z, and then when I type it into my Outlook, I'll type in the first 2 letters of your name and hope like hell it comes up, so I don't have to look in my books to try and find out what your actual name is, so I can write your email address.
Perfect. That answer your question?
That helps, yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, go see Matt later for a chance of winning a VR headset and what promises to be a rather funny story about VR.
Funny, deeply.
Maybe a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Moving along.
Cool. Yeah, lovely. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
Matt. Brilliant.